Alright, hey guys, it's egoballas here. I'm making a video it was requested by a couple people, especially Jordan Boss, to sort of make a video on how I go about editing, photos that I take. A lot of people in the paintball world take photos at events, at their field, just for fun. So I'm just going to go about showing you guys how I edit certain photos. So first I selected this one photo that I liked from a long time ago, but it's a cool photo. And the first thing I want to say is that what you want to first look at is really when you're shooting. You know, even if you're post-processing or editing, which is what we're going to talk about, is amazing. If you're not sort of have the paintball sort of fundamentals down for photographing, such as staying low, trying to stay in front of the player, making sure your settings are right. That's a huge thing in terms of shutter speed and aperture and ISO to make sure that you really catch the action because people are moving really fast. If you don't have those things down, it's going to be hard to really edit because your photos are going to be blurry or out of focus or just bad composition in general. But once you have all that down, you can go about editing your photos. So first thing that I use Adobe Lightroom 3. Some people use Photoshop. Some people use, it's pretty much just Photoshop and Lightroom. But first thing I always do is I go to crop. You don't want all this dead space around him, and it looks a lot better when you just crop in. So I'm going to keep some of the foreground, sort of center him around here, and right about there is a pretty nice crop. And now Lightroom is incredible. It gives you all these different types of things between color selection, all of this stuff. You can split tone, detail, sharpening, noise reduction, grain, ton of stuff. So I'm just going to start at the top, at the basic stuff. So you have temperature. You can move it up to sort of get a brighter temperature, move it down. For most photos, I usually move up the temperature to around +7 or so. I think that's about reasonable. So after that, you have the bottom temperature, which is the tint. It's the tint. And I usually move that down. This is just my personal style, but I move that down to about 7. Then you have sort of your exposure, recovery, all this other stuff. I usually don't touch exposure unless it's really underexposed or overexposed. I usually leave that blank. Recovery is cool. If you have parts that are really blown out, you can move it up to sort of bring them back into the picture. And I use that a little bit, maybe around 30. Fill light is to just add more light to the photo. You can see as I move up. This one is almost okay, so I'm just going to put in 3 there. And then blacks is just obviously the black in the photo. You know, go to 100 and it looks pretty messed up. But if you do a decent amount, like, you don't want to sort of take his entire jersey out of the picture. But if you go to maybe, 3 or something, it looks kind of neat. I'm going to turn this down because I'm actually going to change the blackness and the contrast. Contrast I love a lot. Kind of high-ish contrast looks pretty cool. And the other thing that you can do is that if you have high contrast and you sort of lost this area, you can just turn up the fill light a little bit to maybe 13, and you sort of gain that area back. So now that looks cool. Clarity, I usually turn that up a good amount. Sort of, you can see the difference if you turn it all the way down or all the way up. I usually put it at about 45. Vibrance, I sometimes touch it. You can turn it all the way up or all the way down. I usually put it at about 15. And saturation is almost the same thing as vibrance. And I don't put it too high because then the photo looks really oversaturated. So I usually put that at about a third of what my vibrance is generally. Then you have these things, the tone curves, which are really neat. You have highlights, which I sometimes touch. I only usually just turn them up a little bit. I have the lights. Usually don't touch that. The darks, which I usually turn down a little bit, too much, and the shadows, which I also turn down a tiny bit. Then you have all these different sort of color filters. You can see, like for the red, if I turn that all the way down, it's going to desaturate everything that's red on the photo, or all the way up. Although since there's not a ton of red in this photo, or really any other colors, I'm gonna leave that blank for this photo. Then I have the highlights. I sometimes touch these. You can sort of put set a real tone for your photo. So I'm going to move that a little bit. And shadows. Sharpening, make sure you don't over sharpen it. You can see like right here, if I turn it all the way up, you can see it gets really sort of pixelated, and when you process that online, it just looks really weird. So I usually put sharpening at like, maybe 70 with a radius of 1.5. Noise reduction is just if you're shooting in really low light and it's very noisy, you can turn it up. But because I don't have that issue, I'm not going to do that. Vignetting. This is something that a lot of first-time photographers seem to really mess up. It's kind of interesting. They put it like all the way like that because they think that looks really cool. And it really doesn't. I mean, I sometimes use it and I barely don't. If I'm going to use vignetting, I put it at like maybe 20 with a feather of like 50, so it's almost not noticeable. So that's pretty much that. Then I see this. That's pretty much as far as I will go. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of different things to the photo if I want a different feel. And then you can see side by side. So you can really see what I did was I cropped it first off. I sort of made the colors more interesting. It's more vibrant over here in the legs. If you look at the difference in the legs, you can see that. This is what's really cool about Lightroom, is that you can see all these differences. You can see how these blacks are more in the picture. Who the hell is messaging me? Oh, it's Miles. Sorry, guys. You can see like these blues are a little bit more in. The ground, I think, is a big difference. You don't want it that bad as it is on the left. And what did I just do there? Oh, I see. But that's pretty much that. And that's how you go about editing a photo, guys. And you sort of export it. And what's really cool about Lightroom is that if you want to export it with a watermark, it's extremely easy. You can edit your own right here. You can choose an image if you have an actual watermark, or you can just say photography. You can change the font. You can do all these cool things, and then it just batch watermarks. If you have a set of photos, like if I had 100 down here, you're just going to add that watermark to everything, and then you just export it, and that's the photo, pretty much. Yeah, that's that, guys. I hope you enjoy that, and I hope if you guys are paintball photographers, I hope you learn stuff. Other really quick things about Lightroom is that you can develop section. You can also save presets. So if I wanted to save my sort of settings over here, and on my other computer I have a ton of presets saved, which makes processing a little bit easier. You can just say like paintball preset number 1. I'm at typo, I'm at number 1. I actually have some over here too. And you can just kind of hover over these, and then you don't have to go through this every single time. Although I do switch it up for different photos. Like if these were different colors or different sort of lighting in the day, this preset might look really weird on a different type of photo, but otherwise you can sort of use the same preset on a good amount of photos. Otherwise, that's really that, guys. I hope you enjoy, and if you want any other tutorials on video editing, maybe actually going out and taking pictures instead of post-processing, or I don't really know what else, but anything else that you guys may think about in terms of paintball media, just let us know. We'd love to help you out. Paintball media is a big part of the sport. All the photographers, all the guys that are out there making videos from events and all that. It's really an important part of the sport, and it's good to get into it. It's fun, and it keeps you active with the sport, and it keeps the sport really interesting for other people. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and let us know if you want anything else. All right, thank you.